السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I had a question about the Ottoman Arabic curriculum. What do they study in the madrasas today in Turkey, and what do they study traditionally within the Ottoman madrasas for their language? What were the books of Sarf, of morphology, of Nahu, of syntax, of Balagha, of rhetoric, of Adab, of literature, etc.? What were those early years of training in the Arabic language like for the Ottoman scholars? So what I thought I'll do is a short series of videos regarding the curriculum. We'll begin today with Sarf, inshallah ta'ala. And for those of you that are not aware, Sarf refers to words. The changing of words to give off different meanings. The Arabic language is very, very particular and nuanced in this regard. I mean, even a letter or a haraka can change the entire meaning. You can know a lot about the meaning of a word just by what letter it begins with. For example, a word that begins with a ghain generally has this sort of meaning of being overshadowed or overcome by something, like ghalaba, to be dominant, like khilaf, to be a cover, ghishawa, like a curtain, or ghadab, to be overcome with anger, ghafla, for your intellect to be overcome, to become heedless, hakada, ghubar, whatever words that you could think of. You can learn a lot just by that ghain at the beginning of the word. Likewise, sheen, the idea of extending outwards, etc. Likewise, you can learn a lot about a verb, for example, just by on the middle letter of the word, whether it has a fatha or dhamma or kasra. It can indicate towards such interesting meaning just by the single change of a haraka on a word. So sarf is a really important subject in Arabic. So what did the Ottomans study, and what did the Turks today study? Here you've got a nice print, a new print by Shifa. I say new, it's not new today, but meaning it's a modern print. This is Majmu'atu Sarf, a collection of 4 Sarf books that they would study before they would, if they were to really go forward, that they would then go on to the Shafi'ah, etc. But they would study the Amthila, Bina al-Af'al, the Maqsood, and Al-Izzi, meaning Tasrif al-Izzi. Now, Bina al-Af'al and Tasrif al-Izzi, these 2 books are popular around the world. Tasrif al-Izzi is even popular in the subcontinent, not so much Bina al-Af'al, but Bina al-Af'al is popular in parts of the Arab world. The Amthila is a book that is specific to the Ottoman Empire, specific to Turkey today. In fact, the original text of the Amthila is in Ottoman Turkish, which we'll have a look at in just a moment. And the Maqsood. These are 2 very popular books. Now, what's interesting about these 2 books is that we don't know the authors of these books. It's said that the Amthila, I mean, it's said by some contemporary researchers and commentators on the Amthila that the author is Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu warda, because as we know, the first person that had his student write down the rules of grammar was Al-Imam Ali radiallahu anhu warda, when he said to his student, write kullu fa'il marfu' wa kull maf'ul mansub. And so for some, that the first breakdown of Arabic verbs was Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, that was then written. Wallahu a'lam. But as we said, the author is unknown, but that is a position. As for the Maqsood, likewise, we don't know the author. However, there are many Turkish scholars that say that the author of the Maqsood in Sarf is Al-Imam Abu Hanifa An-Nu'man ibn Thabit radiallahu anhu warda. Again, this is a position, but there is no unequivocal evidence to support any of those per se, but that is what has been mentioned. So now this is a modern print, so you can see here you have the matan here, the text, and on the side you have the ta'liq. This is all ta'liq as well, this page. The matan is just their section of text. This is all footnoting, extensive footnotes, as you can see. Now, there are many commentaries on these books, but what the mu'alliq has done here is he has just taken the best of those points and he's put them into ta'liqat on these 4 books here. Let's have a little bit of a closer look at these. So, for example, if I was to share with you the amthila, the original amthila, which is an Ottoman Turkish, you can see here. So this is the original amthila. Nasara has gone missing here. Now, in the subcontinent, for those of you that may have studied Sarf in the subcontinental tradition, you memorize this, what we call Sarf-e Saghir. Sarf-e Saghir in the subcontinent, which is that you memorize Nasara yansuru nasran, fahuwa nasirun wa nusira yunsaru nasran, fadhaka mansuran, lam yansur, lam yunsar, la yunsaru, la yunsaru, la yunsara, la yunsara, la yunsaranna, la yunsaranna, etc., etc., etc. That Sarf-e Saghir is basically what the Amthila is. It's the same thing. It includes within it this what we call the Sarf-e Kabir, which is Nasara, Nasara, Nasaru, Nasarat, Nasrata, Nasarna, etc. Yansuru, Yansurani, Yansuruna, Tansuru, Tansurani, Yansurna, the past tense, the present, separating them into what's called Sarf-e Kabir. But the Sarf-e Saghir is where you gather all of that and you're just mentioning the first of all of the Sarf-e Kabirs into this one Sarf-e Saghir. So this, what we call the Sarf-e Saghir, is what is the Amthila, just to bring that point home. And as you can see, it's written in Ottoman Turkish. So he'll explain. فعل ماضي بناء معلوم مفرد مذكر غائب معنى سا. So he's going to explain this now. What does this mean? Its meaning is yardım etti. Yardım etti meaning that he helped. It's past tense. Bir ghaib er. Bir means singular. Ghaib means third person. And er. In Ottoman Turkish, er is what they call in modern Turkish erkek, which means masculine, muzakkar. Er. Geçmiş zamanda in the past tense. Likewise, yansuru fi'li muzari binay ma'lum mufrad muzakkar ghaib ma'nası yardım eder. So yardım eder means that he helps, meaning it could be present or future. Hence he says bir ghaib er, singular third person masculine. Şimdiki halde present tense ya or gelecek zamanda in the future tense. So that's mentioned. Mastar ghair mimi mufrad manası yardım etmek. So nasran is mastar ghair mimi. But it's not, it doesn't have a, mastar mimi is a, for those of you that know, that's fine. If you don't know, that's just a particular type of mastar. So this is the mastar, which is not mimi with the meme at the beginning. It's singular, ma'nasa. What does it mean? Yardım etmek. Yardım etmek means to help, to help. Now there are modern translations of the Amsila. For example, you can see here. Now, as you can see, they haven't done a complete translation. They've just said Fe'le Mazi yardım etti. That's all they said. Yardım etti. But all of the other details that were there in the Ottoman Turkish are not there. Now, if somebody is interested and they do have Turkish, then may I recommend this? This is a good translation or a better translation of the text with some kind of explanation as well, like a little bit of a commentary, so you can see the text will be on the inside. But with the Amthila in particular, again, it's still a better translation. I can show you an example for those that are interested. I can just get to the beginning. For example, here's your Nasara that's mentioned there. So that's a larger translation. If you listen to it, it sounds very similar. فعل ماضي بناصر معلوم. So what they've done, which is interesting, is this just says بناء معلوم, because there was a heavy influence of Persian on the Ottoman Turkish language. Now, in modern Turkish, that there has been obviously a reduction in that, a type of a renewal. For example, if they were going to say in Ottoman Turkish God's attributes, they'll say sifat-i ilahi, yeah, sifat-i ilahi, for example, or sifat-i whatever, like, they'll say in that Persian style. Rasul Akram, same in the Persian style. Rasul Akram with a kasra on the mudaf or the mawsuf, on the described word or on the mudaf. Whereas in modern Turkish, they wouldn't say sifat ilahi, for example. They'd say Allah'ın sıfatları. Allah'ın sıfatları. So it's changed. Likewise here, they've not just translated it as the Ottoman Turkish, they've translated it into contemporary Turkish. Mufred muzakkir ghaib manası yardım etti. Bir ghaib erkek. Notice, not saying but erkek. Geçmiş zamanda. Geçmiş zamanda is fine, it's the same. So hakada, you can see this is how they would begin, by memorizing what we call the Sarf Saghir in the subcontinent, but the Amthila. That's what they would do. Now, the commentary that you see along the side here, this is in Arabic, just if you are interested in that. That's the first text. The second text that they would study would be Bina al-Af'al. Now, Bina al-Af'al is a little bit more popular around the world. Mu'allaf Majhul, rahimahullah ta'ala. The author is unknown, may Allah ta'ala have mercy upon him. There is some tahqiq that some scholars have done. But ala kullin, and he begins this text by saying that اعلم أن أبواب التصريف 35 بابا, that he breaks down Sarf into 35 different chapters. Now, if you want to see a good modern example, again, the texts have done fantastic work. You can see that here, where he's broken Bina down first into two, into the Thulathi and the Mujarrad. I'm not going to explain those. Sorry, the Thulathi and the Ruba'i. I'm not going to explain those. And then from the Thulathi, you've got the Mujarrad and the Mazid. In the text, he says, Lima zada fihi. Lima zada fihi. But sometimes they say a Thulathi al-Mazid. Sometimes they say al-Mazid fihi. Different Sarf books will say that differently. But you've got al-Mujarrad, for those that know, and he's given you 6. And then he's got al-Mazid, and he's listed all of those here. Then he's got the Ruba'i Mujarrad. And then he's got the Ruba'i Mazid, 1 and 3. And then he's got the Mulhaq bil Ruba'i. And what he does interestingly in Bina al-Af'al is at the end of the breakdown of the Abwab, he'll mention the Mulhaq, but he won't explain it, what it is. But at the end, excuse me, at the end, he will then explain what it means to be more. Why is ilhaq different to ziyada? Like when you say al-mazid and you say al-mulhaq, why are they different? And he explains them. And then he ends the section with explaining what is al-sahih, al-mithal, al-ajwaf, al-naqis, what is al-mu'allal, what is al-mahmuz, what is al-lafif, al-maqroon, al-mafruq, what is al-muda'af, etc. All of that he then brings at the end and then ends the section with that. Again, and not a very long text. You can see it here, broken down very nicely. Al-Bab al-Awwal, Fa'ala yaf'ulu, Nasr yansuru. Its mawzun is here. Its scale. وَعَلَامَةُ أَن يَكُونَ عَيْنُ فِعْلِهِ. I'm just giving you a couple of lines to give you a taste of how the book is. أَن يَكُونَ عَيْنُ فِعْلِهِ مَفْتُوحًا. That the ayn kalima, the middle letter of the 3 root letters, is مفتوح. فعال. Now صار في الماضي in the past tense, ومضموما في المضارع, and it is with a dhamma in the مضارع, ينصر صور للتعدية غالبا. And this sort of template, غالبا generally, and what غالبا means has a specific meaning in these texts as well, which inshallah, should Allah Ta'ala grant you tawfiq to study it, then you will come across that. But it's for غالبا, for ta'diyya, for being transitive, meaning that it takes a maf'ul, it has some type of causality and agency to the verb that it affects another word. وَقَدْ يَكُونُ لَازِمًا, and sometimes, and because he's mentioned the word غالب, the qad here is for taqleel. As you know, when qad comes on the fi'l mudari', it can come for takthir and taqleel, for being, it means sometimes, but that sometimes can be a lot or a little. Here it would mean a little, and that context is there for you. And now he's given the example, مثال المتعدي, an example of this transitive, نحو نصر زيد عمرا. Zayd helped Amr. ومثال اللازم, an example of lazim is نحو خرج زيد. Zayd left. The khuruj does not impact, it's a lazim verb, it's intransitive. But it is خرج يخرج, it's on the same template. And then he explains what is al-muta'addi. هو ما يتجاوز فعل والفاعل إلى المفعول به. It's that agency of the act of the subject transferring to the object, ما وقع عليه فعل الفاعل. It's that upon which the act of the subject manifests or occurs. واللازم هو ما لم يتجاوز. It doesn't. The فعل الفاعل, the act of the actor, of the subject, does not transfer إلى المفعول به, to the object. بل وقع في نفسه. Rather, it occurs within itself. هكذا he's explained that. Look at that. Very simple, very clear, very subtle. Now, depending on the teacher, the commentary could be as extensive as the teacher would like, or it could be as comprehensive or as gentle and simple. The text really allows for that, but it's very, very clear for anyone to see. Likewise, al-bab al-thani, fa'ala yaf'ilu. Like daraba yadribu. And he's going to explain that and its little subtleties, al-bab al-thalith, etc., etc., etc. That is the amsila. Then the second text after, sorry, that's bina al-af'al. So amthila, they memorized all of the siyagh, all of those words. And then bina al-af'al, they've got this introduction to what is that verb, its awzan, what sort of meanings does it have, what does muta'addi mean, what does lazim mean. They get introduced to all of that. What is, look here, mithal, what is ajwaf, what is naqis, what is lafif. This is all coming at the end. What is muda'af, what is idgham and its types. And when is it ja'iz, when is it wajib. All of that comes at the end. When is it mumtani', then mahmuz, and then he ends. And that's it. That is finished now. And he ends with a nice little bait for you there. Now, that's that. And you get now al-maqsood. So now imagine a student, they memorize the siyagh, they've done bina al-af'al, now they're doing the maqsood. Again, mu'allaf majhul, waqila. So the author is unknown, waqila, it is said, للإمام الأعظم أبي حنيفة النعمان ibn ثابت الكوفي رحمه الله تعالى رحمة واسعة. That's what they say. This is a little bit different. The structure is the same thing. Sarf is all the same. But that was structured as ثلاثي المجرد and المزيد, الرباعي المجرد المزيد, and then the mulhaq بالرباعي, and the different anwa', whether the ilhaq, whether it's with one letter, or the mazid even one letter, two letters, three letters, etc. That was the structure until they made 35 abwab. In the maqsood, this is where it begins with al-af'alu ala darbayn. Verbs are of two types, asliyun wa dhu ziyada. Same thing, mujarrad and al-mazid fihi. But the words being used are not al-mujarrad but asli, and not al-mazid fihi but dhu ziyada. So it's a similar sort of structure that's being taking place. Abwab al-fi'li al-asli ay al-mujarrad. So this is being explained. And I would imagine, but I don't have tahqiq, that this chapter heading was not in the matan. In fact, I have the original print of the maqsood somewhere in the library. But I would imagine that it is not in the original. It is not in the original. Naam. Naam. It's not in the original. So the text will go along like this. الأفعال على دربين أصلي وذو زيادة فالأصلي, it moves straight to here. فالأصلي, hence the fa. So these chapter headings, when he mentioned أي المجرد, is not in the text here. And then he carries on. So الثلاثي والرباعي, فالثلاثي ما كان مادي على ثلاثة أحرف وهو ستة أبواب. And now he breaks down the 6 abwab of what we will call الثلاثي المجرد, what he is calling as الأصلي. Yeah. فعل يفعل فعل يفعل فعل يفعل فعل يفعل فعل يفعل فعل يفعل. Now, and then he carries on. Then you've got الرباعي here. والرباعي المجرد. So he's mentioned المجرد here. Etc. He carries on, breaks down. These are how many abwab, etc., etc., etc. And that is how the maqsood goes. And as you can see, it is slightly longer than bina al-af'al, and it is slightly more wordier as well. Bina al-af'al is very, very simple. Al-maqsood is more of a, bina al-af'al is a matan, but it's just points, almost lists. Whereas here, there's more kalam. So it's a bit more, you could say for a beginning student, the maqsood is more difficult. So this is bina, this is maqsood, and then you have izzi. Now, tasrif al-izzi is very, very famous. So I don't need to show it because anyone who has studied Sarf and Nahu would have in their life come across izzi. And izzi is a lot longer. It's longer and it has a number of very, very famous commentaries. One of the most famous commentaries being by that of Al-Imam Sa'aduddin al-Taftazani. And I remember our teacher saying uh, in the class of Izzi that Tasrif al-Izzi, albeit it's longer of a Sarf book, but it's simple. It's actually very, very simple as a book, and it is. And he said, but Taftazani's commentary came and complicated it because Taftazani is obviously al-muhaqqiq, is a genius. And so his commentary is what really requires a level of focused study and explanation. But the text, Tasrif al-Izzi, is very, very simple. And in the subcontinent, normally they would move on and study the Maral al-Wah, thereafter a Shafi'iyya. In the Ottoman tradition, after this, they would study a Shafi'iyya. And so, inshallah, that's like a small summary of the sort of books that they study, what those books look like, etc., etc., etc. Inshallah, we will do another one, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, for al-Nahu. So, for example, you have here again, similar, the Shifa publishers, Majmu'atul Nahu, where they study the Awamil of Birgawi, the Idhar of Birgawi, and then the Kafi of Ibn Hajib, and then they do the Mullah Jami. Now they study other books like Qawaid al-I'rab, is very famous. They study As-Suyuti very famously. As-Suyuti's commentary on the Alfiya of Ibn Malik, and they like to study that as well. They study Qatrun Nida, actually. Sharh Qatrun Nida is studied in the Ottoman tradition. Their Nahu sort of collection of books within the curriculum is very, very expansive, very expansive. But these are three of the popular ones that lead one to the Mullah Jami, to the Sharh al-Kafiyah, al-Fawaid al-Diya'iyah. And so we can juxtapose it with the subcontinental tradition. In the subcontinent, they would begin with Nahu Mir, they would study something like Hidayat al-Nahw thereafter, and then they would study the Kafiyah of Ibn Hajib, and then the commentary on the Kafiyah by Mullah Jami Abdul Rahman Jami rahimahullah ta'ala. And they also had Ibn Aqil within the curriculum on the Alfiya, but in the Ottoman tradition they preferred As-Suyuti. So all of these different things we can have a look at, inshallah ta'ala. Hopefully that was of benefit and an answer to, inshallah, the question that I was asked about that. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah ta'ala give us tawfiq and himma. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.